Hey, Kronus,
Yeah?
you fancy doing a wrestling podcast where we use an AI chatbot?
Go on. Sounds like a laugh.
Let's do it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to A.I.W, the Artificial Intelligence Wrestling Show, where the insight is deep thanks to a little help from a digital friend. The following podcast is a triple threat match scheduled for however many hours. Introducing first, from Mount Olympus, the honorary Zeus. Next, from the cave at the end of time, Kronus the Bear. And their opponent, from the internet, A.I.W.
Hello and welcome to A.I.W. I don't mean to repeat Joe's amazing intro there, but this is Artificial Intelligence Wrestling. And you made it, Kronus, episode 1.
Yeah, got to start somewhere.
We've got to start somewhere. And we've already hit quite an accolade. I think as of time of recording, we are the smallest wrestling YouTube channel in the world.
One subscriber.
One subscriber. Oh, there might be some with 0. But anyway, we're definitely down there at the bottom at the moment.
For now.
So in terms of what this is something that we've been kind of thinking about for many months now. And we finally decided to just go ahead and do it. So essentially, this is going to have a lot of your standard wrestling podcast content. So we are going to be looking at weekly recaps. We're going to be discussing, relevant topics of discussion. As you can see, today's episode is the introduction, along with a deep segment on Wyatt Sick6 in WWE. But we're also going to have some help from a lovely AI chatbot that we've named Jeff. So what Jeff is going to do is he is going to provide us some content of his own, whether that is in the form of how he would book certain storylines, whether that's in the form of singing, and he's also going to help us with some predictions as well for pay-per-view and the like. But what I thought we'd start with is just a bit about ourselves, in terms of how we got into wrestling, when we started, what our favorite styles of wrestling is. So, Kronus the Bear, you want to kick us off? When did you start watching wrestling? How did you get into it? And what is your sort of preferred style?
Well, my earliest wrestling memory is watching, I think it was controversially now, but Chris Benoit versus, I think it was Ernest the Cat Miller.
Oh, wow.
Back in WCW. Must have been late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
On a tiny little TV at my grand's house.
Yeah.
And I was staying over because my mum wouldn't let me watch it.
Of course.
And then I never really watched it sort of regularly because of that, but snuck in what I could. And then sort of a bit later in life, maybe early teens, had some friends who were into it. And that was around sort of the invasion angle.
Yeah.
That time. So I remember vividly Kane and Undertaker versus, I think it was DDP and Canyon.
Yeah.
That cage match.
Bit of a squash, wasn't it?
It was, but I was hooked for that myself. And it just sort of grew from then. I prefer the more sort of 5-star match style, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah, work rate style.
Yeah. So the good matches over the sort of more sports entertaining type stuff, but there is a place for it. I do enjoy the sports entertaining side of things, but give me a good match over a good segment any day.
Absolutely. I think from my point of view, my earliest memory is, I think it was SummerSlam 1996. It was the Boiler Room Brawl, Undertaker Mankind. And I think being exposed to those two particular characters at that time, when I was so young, that's what kind of, got me hooked. I remember I was in the garden on like a replay, because obviously being in the UK, it wasn't live at the time. And my dad called me in and said, "Oh, do you want to watch this?" And that was it. I was hooked. I don't remember much after that, admittedly. I've just got that in my brain. And then I remember Montreal Screwjob the following year, and I found that very confusing at the time. And then the Attitude Era was really kind of where I started to get into wrestling properly, and I would watch it regularly on a Friday night and a Saturday morning. And then I was just kind of a WWE guy, and I did like WCW as well. I discovered WWE first, then discovered WCW and the Monday Night War. I thought that was all really entertaining. And then obviously when WCW was no more, I was kind of just a WWE guy, and I did watch a bit of TNA in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Probably the best time to watch TNA, luckily enough.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I was mainly just a WWE guy. I wasn't really into New Japan, or anything kind of, nothing like luchador exclusive. And then I sort of took a break back when it got really bad. So like the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Right,
those times. Well,
yeah, and I'm sure we're going to go over this in a future episode. You might do kind of like a then and now version of each wrestling company. I think AEW's probably had enough years where we can do kind of like a comparison of where they are versus where they were.
Well, yeah, 5 years on now.
Yeah, and WWE, we've got more than enough material to probably do about 5 or 6 episodes about, the ups and many downs of that company. So yeah, that's kind of, and in terms of my preferred style, I think Ian Kronus are probably, I don't want to say opposite ends of the scale, but I would say that, I like, I love 5-star matches and thing. And I think for me personally, I'm probably more invested in kind of like an emotional storyline. And I guess the idea for both of us be that there's an amazing match that also has a really engaging story leading up to it. And you don't always get that with, both companies. Sometimes get one or the other. I guess a happy medium for us both would be where both those things are present.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we can talk about that as well. Cool. So in terms of the AI aspect, so AI Jeff, he's very much the Dexter Loomis of the group, where he communicates through many means apart from talking. He's very much like Gareth Gates. If for any UK listeners, Gareth Gates was a contestant on, I guess, Pop Idol or American Idol for our transatlantic, and he had difficulty speaking. He had a very kind of potent speech impediment. But when it came to singing, he knocked out the park. He was almost perfect. And AI Jeff's very much the same. But he won't be doing any talking, but he will be singing. Bit of a spoiler for end of the show. We will end the show with a nice AI written song for you all to enjoy. But I think Jeff's first contribution to this particular episode and this introduction is going to be some fantasy booking. So we're going to get kind of see what Jeff's creative faculties are made of. Now, while I was kind of like thinking about this idea a few months ago, I travel a lot for work, so I tend to listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts, especially on the longer travels. And one that I really enjoy is 83 Weeks, Eric Bischoff.
Classic.
I do like listening to him and Conrad, chew the fat, talk about what's happening now, old school wrestling. I love Eric's insights to what it was like being the guy during the Monday Night War. And there was an episode where Bischoff and Conrad Thompson were discussing storylines in AEW, and there was a hot topic, and again, we'll probably get to that in a later episode. And Bischoff he made a comment where I think he said he was curious as to how AI could be used in, like generative AI in writing wrestling storylines. So Eric, if you're listening, who am I kidding? No one's listening, let alone Eric Bischoff. But
Eric, no one. But
yeah, Eric, if you fall asleep with Spotify on and you stumble upon this podcast and it wakes you up, this one's for you. So what we've done is I've asked AI Jeff to write a pitch for a storyline. And the topic of this storyline is to write a storyline where Eric Bischoff goes to AEW and tries to take over Tony Khan.
Can't wait.
Now, obviously, so a disclaimer, first of all. None of this is happening or has happened. It's completely AI generated. And obviously, we know that AI is not perfect. So this is either going to be amazingly genius or it's going to be absolutely terrible, but at least it'll be funny, hoping.
Wait to find out.
So before we get into that, Kronus, what are your thoughts on the idea of having AI use like generative storylines?
Well, it's certainly in an infancy, as we've seen, sort of testing things, but it tends to be more funny than anything else I've found with what we've been sort of testing with. Maybe a more powerful AI, a more supported AI might be able to write more.
Yeah.
Coherent long-term stuff.
Yeah, I think there's no harm in using it because what could always happen is you could kind of give it a starting point and then it might give you 10 things that are rubbish, but there might be one thing in there that you could actually use.
Yeah.
So yeah, I long term I can definitely see it being possible, especially if anyone has, writer's block or anything within each company.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be funny if we knew it was happening. If while watching the show we could tell which ones were kind of, I mean, a lot of the storylines from 2014 in WWE to 2020, they felt like AI generated. Some of them were just so bad.
Unfortunately, they weren't.
Okay, so this is AI Jeff's first contribution. I will be reading on behalf of Jeff. So, okay, he's titled this storyline. It's called Clash of the Titans: The Khan Bischoff Showdown at All In Wembley, which is a great start. So, in the electrifying world of professional wrestling, where rivalries ignite and legends collide, like they always start off like fairy tales. These stories
set the scene.
Yeah, set the scene. So there's a seismic shift about to occur. Brace yourselves for a tale of ambition, betrayal, and redemption as Eric Bischoff and Tony Khan lock horns in a battle that will transcend in the squared circle. So what I like about this so far is it's actually split this storyline into acts and scenes. So it's actually put it into 3 separate acts, I like. And I think that's something that Eric Bischoff has been a fan of as well, is kind of separating your stories into 3 arcs. So it's already done that. So the first scene happens at A.I.W. Dynamite. The arena's buzzing with anticipation as Tony Khan strides to the ring, microphone in hand. His voice echoes through the rafters, promising fans an unforgettable announcement, which is so on point. Every week. Before he can speak, the lights start to flicker, and the unmistakable strains of Back in Black fill the air.
Okay.
Out steps Eric Bischoff, flanked by a motley crew of renegades. The crowd erupts, some in cheers, others in shock. Eric Bischoff, with his cheesy grin, says, "Tony, you've built something special here, but I've seen empires rise and fall, and now I'm here to take what's rightfully mine." So that is how the storyline starts. I think that's a pretty strong opening. I actually would, if I was a viewer and that happened on TV, I would be hooked. That would, oh God, that would be incredible.
I want to see what happens next, definitely.
Yep.
And he has seen empires rise and fall.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So the second scene apparently takes place in a boardroom. So behind closed doors, with a camera, obviously, Eric Bischoff, he unveiled his master plan. He wants a hostile takeover of AEW. He woos disgruntled talent, whispers promises of power, and sows seeds of doubt in Khan's leadership. The wrestling world watches, torn between loyalty and curiosity. Okay. The Act 2. So we're at All in Wembley already. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so it's gone straight to All in Wembley. So Bischoff challenges Tony Khan to a gauntlet match. Each opponent represents a chapter in AEW's history.
Okay.
As Tony Khan battles through legends and rising stars, Eric Bischoff watches, calculating. So Eric Bischoff here has Tony Khan wrestling in a gauntlet match at Wembley All In.
It sounds that way. How he swung that, I don't know.
Maybe the EVPs are involved. I know we're kind of like filling in the gaps here.
It does tie into what's going on at the moment, I suppose.
So Tony Khan, believe it or not, makes it through this gauntlet match. We don't know who the wrestlers are he's fought, but it says they represent a chapter in AEW's history. It could be like one of the OGs, like a Darby Allin or an MJF. And then he could end with one of the newest signings, like an Ospreay or an Okada. I mean, Tony Khan beating any of those wrestlers is probably a red flag for me personally. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that would... I mean, I'd find it funny.
Lots of shenanigans, surely.
Lots of shenanigans. So he beats all of these wrestlers, and in the climactic showdown, Khan faces Bischoff himself. So Eric Bischoff steps in the ring after Tony Khan has beaten presumably 5 of the best wrestlers in the world. The crowd roars, torn between nostalgia and loyalty. And this is in London, let's not forget. So I think the pop for this would be insane if you saw Eric Bischoff getting in the ring to face an already battered Tony Khan. Khan fights valiantly, but Bischoff's cunning tactics wear him down. And just when all seems lost, Tony Khan rallies, channeling the spirit of AEW's underdogs. Tony Khan gasps and says, "This company isn't just mine. It belongs to every fan, every wrestler who believed, and I won't let you destroy it." So that's Act 2.
Go on, TK.
I know. Proper babyface underdog.
With fire.
So Act 3, I think this is still, we're in the ring and All In. So as Tony Khan mounts a comeback, Eric Bischoff, who is wearing a mask for some reason, slips. And beneath the bravado, his face shows fear, a fear of irrelevance, of fading into obscurity. And Tony Khan exposes the truth, that Bischoff craves validation and not power. Wow, that's kind of deep.
Very deep.
That is very deep. In a heart-wrenching moment, Tony Khan extends his hand to Eric Bischoff. Bischoff hesitates, then accepts. The crowd erupts in applause. The invasion has ended, but the scars remain. Tony Khan says, "We're both wrestling lifers, Eric. Let's build something together." And so Tony Khan and Eric Bischoff forge an unlikely alliance. AEW evolves, blending old-school grit with Tony Khan's work rate vision. The company thrives, proving that sometimes enemies can become allies.
Hey.
Well, I wasn't expecting that ending, I'll be honest.
No. But
I think A.I.Jeff's done a fairly good job there. I think I probably would have liked to have seen a bit more prior to the All in Wembley situation.
yeah, a bit more flesh as well, maybe, like who's sided with Eric, who he's whispered in the ears of.
Absolutely. And obviously this, AI is a learning tool and it's generative. So I think that's a very good first attempt for Jeff. Good up, Jeff. Well done.
Top work.
So that's the kind of thing. Eric, again, if you're listening, I know you're obviously a big fan by now, if you've just heard that. You've probably subscribed and you're probably donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep this thing going. So thank you.
Cheers.
But that's the kind of thing that can be used if AI was to write wrestling storylines. Obviously, it needs some work, but I was quite
You got
impressed.
the bare bones.
I was quite impressed. So in terms of what's going to happen next, shall we go through a weekly recap of what's been happening over the past week in wrestling?
Yeah.
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 So what we're going to do, we're going to stick to Raw, Dynamite and Smackdown. Just to start off with, We do enjoy NXT and Collision as well. We just think a content perspective, we're just going to keep it to the three big shows. Okay?
Woo.
3 big shows. Good God. Imagine if there was 3 big shows.
Well. Well.
So, Monday Night Raw. Been on a hell of a hot streak recently.
Yeah.
So, Monday Night Raw that just went. So, this would be Monday, the 24th of June. 24th. So, I think this probably ties into what we're going to talk about in depth a bit later. Is coming into Monday Night Raw, I think most people were thinking, what are the Wyatt Sick going to do?
Yep.
So when I was watching it, my first thought was, okay, A, what are the Wyatt Sick going to do? And B, how are the actions of the Wyatt Sick the previous week going to be acknowledged? So the first thing we see is extra security. Fine. I think that's all it needed.
Yeah.
Kind of just a kind of brief acknowledgement.
There's not much more you can do really, apart from have everyone sort of running scared. But that's not much of a show, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah. You need to balance it. You don't want to, because there's a lot of great stuff happening on Raw, particularly going into Money in the Bank. So you didn't want to kind of disrupt everything. Storyline that probably pay off for a long time.
Yeah.
So Raw starts off, and interesting, Raw starts off with Michael Cole and The Miz. And The Miz, I thought, did a very good job on commentary, and I've always thought that The Miz is somebody who could easily transfer into a commentary role when he hangs up the boot. What do you think, Ernest?
Yeah, definitely. He's always been a really good talker.
Yep.
He knows the business. He's been there forever. So, yeah, great job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually starts off with Michael Cole. I think he attempts to talk about the Wyatt Sick. And then Drew McIntyre does the classic heel thing of just appearing, no music, no entrance, through the crowd.
Walks across the shop.
Yeah.
Cole and Miz at the table. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. It's one of many reasons why WWE's production since the appointment of Lee Fitting has been really, really good.
So much better.
Yeah, I know Kevin Dunn's was quite torturous to watch. So that, anything would be an improvement. But I do think Lee Fitting, this is genuine, incredible improvement in production.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Drew gets in the ring, and obviously he's fresh off his attack of CM Punk in Chicago, the previous SmackDown, which was amazing stuff. And I think, we know Drew's doing the best work of his entire career at the moment. And I think him in this heel role, probably the best thing that could have happened to him. And it's probably my favorite storyline in all of wrestling currently. And I just find it funny how essentially this storyline came about purely because of CM Punk's accidental injury in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, they're working it well.
Yeah, because this almost certainly wouldn't have been the direction that hadn't happened.
No. I think Punk probably would have wrestled Rollins at Mania for the title.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't, to be honest. I mean, him coming in that soon and he would have won, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I also don't know what would have happened with Damian Priest cash-in.
Yeah.
Either. That would have had to have been done. It's because at that point everyone was wondering, what is Damian Priest going to do with this briefcase? So whether it would have happened if Punk had beaten him as well, we would have got a CM Punk Damian Priest rivalry, which I'm not a big fan of, considering what we have now.
Yeah, definitely.
But they've both been great, and they haven't even stepped in the ring yet, and it's been almost 7 months.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Drew gets in the ring, and he's obviously very happy about what he's done previous Friday. And he talks about going to Money in the Bank, winning Money in the Bank, cashing in the same night. And what I thought was really interesting is he said, I'm going to cash in, win that world title to spite you. And it kind of playing into that longer term storyline where all Drew McIntyre cares about is getting one over on CM Punk. And there's obviously that obsession that's cost him so many times.
Yeah, that motivation seems to be more than for the title itself.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to win this title. I don't care about this, but it's going to make you feel horrible. That's one.
Good a reason as any.
Yep. And then he mentions the bracelet that, I don't know if you saw, he took off CM Punk's bracelet back down.
Yeah.
Which had AJ and his dog Larry's name on it.
Yeah.
His stupid dog. And classic heel move. Be insulting any kind of animal.
Easy heat.
Yeah. And that was very quick, effective segment. What did you think?
Yeah, again, fire promo from Drew.
Hmm.
As he said, doing the best work of his career easily.
Yep.
Did like the bracelet touch, saying he's not alone anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really going to get under Punk's skin, so I can see Punk coming back shortly and the tete-a-tete continuing.
Yeah, and this leads me to my next point. So we found out during the show that next week we're getting, well, as we're recording this coming Monday, Drew McIntyre versus Ilya Dragunov versus Sheamus.
Ooh.
Incredible. Should be illegal for a weekly show. It's incredible.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a banger. Winner of that qualifies for Money in the Bank. So in terms of the Drew McIntyre CM Punk thing, and this also ties into match we're going to talk about later. So I think obviously Drew qualifies for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Now, do we have Drew in the Money in the Bank match? Drew all alone climbing the ladder, and then CM Punk cost him in the ladder match? Or do we have Drew win the Money in the Bank, go to cash in, CM Punk ruin his cash in? Because these are two things that I think are likely to.
I mean, of those two, I'd say screwing the cash in is going to be the biggest, I think. You get a huge pop if you screw him over in the match itself, so he doesn't win the briefcase. But imagine, wins the briefcase, he's doing exactly what he said he's going to do, goes to cash in that night, about to hit the 1, 2, 3 after a Claymore, and then huge pop.
Yeah, absolutely. In Canada as well. Canada's always a great crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think in terms of getting under Drew's skin the most, I think screwing him out of that when he's as close as he can be.
Yeah.
Because he's already got to a 2 count in Glasgow when CM Punk was the referee at Clash of the Castle.
Yeah.
So, and I think either way, we know Drew's not winning the title until this CM Punk feud is over.
Yeah, no, I think so. And it's one that doesn't need a title as well, which is handy.
Absolutely. I think, already being, my personal favorite story in wrestling all year, and, neither of them have been fully cleared to wrestle all year. There's no title involved, and I think something like this doesn't come along naturally very often.
No.
Sometimes these blood feuds, especially in WWE, have felt quite forced. So this one feels totally natural, and in terms of, I agree with you. I think screwing the actual cash in would have the most heat. When we get to the Chad Gable situation later, we'll talk about his possible Money in the Bank endeavors as well. So next up we had Braun Breaker against Ludwig Kaiser. I don't know if you heard, but Ludwig Kaiser was apparently legitimately injured in this match.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so WrestleVotes on Twitter, they posted something saying he suffered a legitimate injury. I still don't think we know the severity of this injury. But I thought the match was fine for what it was. We ended up getting Sheamus and interference, and they're playing around with the 4 guys, Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser, Braun Breaker, and Sami Zayn, kind of interfering in each other's matches.
Yeah, that knee out of nowhere from Sheamus to Ludwig was brilliant.
Thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. I love Sheamus. He's still so good. I'm glad he came back. And yeah, he looks better than ever.
Yeah, doing great work.
So what confused me was after this match, we shortly after we went to backstage, and Braun Breaker is, I don't say knocking on Adam Pearce's door, is beating Adam Pearce's door, and he's complaining obviously because everyone keeps interrupting his matches, which is a fair thing to complain about.
Yeah.
And then Sami Zayn appears. And they kind of very quickly go to, okay, let's do Sami versus Braun at Money in the Bank. Which sort of leads me to wonder, was this done because of Kaiser's injury? Were they, because it felt like what was happening on TV, that they were going to go the kind of fatal four-way route between Sami, Braun, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser.
Well, Sheamus was definitely in there. I don't know. Ludwig kind of just inserted himself because they had that little in-ring promo thing where it was Braun and Sami, and then I think Sheamus showed up, called Braun a Child or something like that.
Yeah. But I think it's been, first of all, it's been very good seeing Ludwig Kaiser having a singles run.
Yeah.
I think he's really talented and he's very good on the mic. He's fantastic. I think he's got a really big future. But I think, Sheamus kind of getting involved with the Intercontinental title and Ludwig Kaiser sort of not letting go of Sheamus. And if you want to give Ludwig Kaiser a single showcase, obviously not have him win the title just yet. I honestly thought they were going the fatal four-way route. So to know that they're going the singles route, I was quite surprised at, because I think, if Sheamus loses next week and doesn't go into Money in the Bank, then what does Sheamus do for the next 6 weeks until SummerSlam?
Well, it's not win the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
You reckon they're going to drag that out until his final day as a wrestler? And he'll just...
Yeah, it'll be, like Sting's retirement match.
Yeah.
Titles.
Yeah.
They'll have him win in his last match, I reckon.
Yeah.
Relinquish it.
I think when he's he'll be 47 or 48, and then he'll win Money in the Bank, cash in on the IC title, relinquish it, and retire.
That's all he needs to do.
Retire undefeated. That's the best way to do it.
Mm.
So we are getting Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title at Money in the Bank in Canada. Do you think it's too early to put the title on Braun Breaker?
I don't. No.
Okay.
He's been there a few weeks now, smashed everyone.
Yeah.
So it's a natural progression, really.
I'm kind of torn. I think he has been really impressive, been booked perfectly, and I think whenever somebody comes up from NXT because of what we've seen in previous administrations, how many great black and gold NXT wrestlers have we seen come up to the main roster just be completely wasted?
Yeah, too many.
Bobby Roode being, one of my preferred examples to use in that situation. Obviously, I was a huge fan of Bobby Roode character work. The music's my favorite theme song of all time. And just, obviously we know Vince wanted to kill everything Triple H created. Did that very successfully, unfortunately. But I think we're in a different era now, as they keep saying. And I think a lot of the NXT call-ups have been good, but I think Braun Breaker in particularly has been really, really strong. And I think I go back to, it's a few weeks ago on Raw where he was having a squash match with somebody. What was his name? His name's on the tip of my tongue. Guy he absolutely destroyed. Cale Dixon. That was it.
Hey, yeah.
Cale Dixon. Yeah. So, and we saw him having a squash match, and I thought to myself, oh God, not another squash match. Stop doing this. And then you saw Braun Breaker's face, as if to say, God, this again. And that's when I knew that this was going to be something really good. Because obviously he absolutely killed that man. That man really earned his money that night.
Yeah.
But I think, and I was worried they were going to turn Braun Breaker face. That's what I was worried about. And I'm glad they kept him as that dominant, destructive heel that he was at the back end of his NXT run.
Yeah.
In terms of him winning the title, I could kind of see it. Because obviously it's strike while the iron is hot situation.
Yeah.
And I think from a Sami Zayn perspective, he doesn't need the IC title. I don't think.
I was going to say, yeah.
He can slot into the main event scene, and fingers crossed, he could even slot into the current Bloodline situation as the honorary use.
Oh, yeah, when Roman comes back.
Yeah. So, do I think it's too soon for Braun himself? It might be, but if they're that confident in him, and he is so hot right now, and the crowd are barking at him, he's getting over naturally. It's more of like an anti-hero, I'd say. Got kind of anti-hero energy. Because, Ludwig Kaiser is a heel. Whereas Braun's kind of like that badass bad guy that you want to get behind, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously, yet to be seen if it'll get to that level. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Braun versus Sami. Do you think Braun will win?
I think so, yeah. I think it's time you need to sort of strap a rocket to him. As you said, Sami doesn't really need the IC title. Yeah, he's Sami Zayn. He can do anything there, really. But it's tough to think of Sami as like a placeholder title holder.
Yeah, transitional, I guess. He held it since WrestleMania, hasn't he?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good few months.
Yeah, and he's always going to have good matches, and he's always going to have, he's probably one of the best underdogs in the industry.
Yeah.
And I think him facing someone like Braun Breaker makes sense for Sami's character. Because Sami facing someone that strong and that fast and that destructive, going to play into how Sami sells being an underdog really well. I think Braun, I think my prediction for this match, it ties into something later in the show, and it's a bit of a stretch. But I don't think Braun wins the IC title. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
That's coming up in a couple of segments. So next we had women's Money in the Bank qualifier. So we had Lyra Valkyria, who qualified for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match against Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. I thought this was good. Yeah, fine match. I've enjoyed the qualifying matches so far. I like the triple threat format. It gives more people an opportunity, makes it a bit less predictable.
Yeah, and the matches are a bit better as well.
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah, and I think they've got the right people in the running. I thought Lyra was going to qualify because she's in a recent call up. I think she's we've watched her in NXT. She's a very good wrestler.
Yeah.
I think she's probably struggling to get over a little bit, and it's probably not her fault.
So, no, I mean, there's a lot going on in the women's division as well at the moment, which is great, as always.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough to sort of break through, but she's still treading water, definitely.
Yeah, and I think giving her a chance in this ladder match will give her a chance to show what she can do in a chaotic environment, and it sometimes takes something in a match like that to really get somebody over with the crowd. So yeah, I think she's great. I think she'll be fine. She might need a bit of beat to some character work eventually, because she seems quite what's the word I'm looking for? There's not really a lot that stands out about her character wise, if that makes sense.
I mean.
You compare her to someone like Kiana James, she's got that really kind of charming arrogance about her.
Yeah.
And got the kind of business attire on and how better than you kind of thing, that kind of thing. It's obviously a lot easier for heels to develop that type of character than it is baby faces.
Definitely, yeah.
But I think she'll be fine. I'm looking forward to seeing her in the ladder match.
See what she can do.
Yep. What do we have next? Oh boy, Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite part of Monday Night Raw at the moment. I'm going to start off by saying I have always, I've never liked Liv Morgan as a promo. I've always thought it comes across as quite forced, and that little laugh she does after she says something I find a bit cringe. But I have to say this is really good television happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, promo wise, sort of mic wise, I guess is definitely her best work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
And
vengeance, the manipulation, it's really good.
yeah, and I think, Dirty Dominic Mysterio playing it like a champ as well. And this is another one of those storylines where this all happened because of an accidental injury to Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
And again, we would not be getting this level of television if Rhea Ripley had not got injured. Whether we would have got something better, I don't think we would, because I think Rhea not being there is really building the anticipation for this eventual payoff, which we hope will be SummerSlam.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I mean, they could do Bad Blood, but that's in October. I think Bad Blood is perfect for things like Drew Punk, if Rhea, eventual Bloodline stuff when Roman comes back. But they might do multiple matches. In case Bad Blood could probably, handle all those rivalries.
Both show.
But yeah, Liv Morgan hits the ring, and she was doing her usual talk about how much she loves Dominic Mysterio, and she was promising to follow up on the gifts that she gave Daddy Dom. What she's calling him now. And she was interrupted by Zelina Vega. And I love Zelina Vega, but I think because of how engaged I am with the whole Liv Dom thing, I completely forgot Zelina was involved in this.
Yeah, it was a bit of a random interruption, I thought. I mean, it's history, but why is Zelina coming out challenging for a title?
There's been a couple of, over the last few weeks, there's been a couple, because obviously Zelina's with the A.I.W, and Ray and Dom have had a few run-ins with the Judgment Day recently, so it's all kind of, it's all kind of been blended together. And I think because Zelina's, and obviously Liv needs something to do. She hasn't defended that title yet since she won it. And they need her to do something, so they're going to give her a filler match, if you would. It's actually happening this week on Raw. It's not happening at Money in the Bank.
Oh, okay.
So Zelina Vega interrupts, and I actually thought Zelina Vega's promo here was very good.
Yeah, she is decent.
It sort of reminded me of when she was with Andrade in NXT. And she was like a badass heel. I think I prefer that side of Zelina Vega.
Yeah, I mean, she's in the LWO, obviously, but she's not done a huge amount apart from just sort of be there with them, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, she's been given a few opportunities, and I think she has improved in the ring. Obviously, a nice moment for her in Puerto Rico last year.
Yeah, I like that.
And yeah, her and Liv Morgan is official for the Women's Raw title this coming Monday. And then we got kind of Rey Mysterio getting involved, Dirty Dom, and it all kind of fell apart, as it always does with this storyline. In a good way, by the way. I don't know, a bit chaotic.
That is it.
Yeah. So the segment closed with Liv Morgan following Dominic. He stormed off to the back. You think Dom's being genuine here, or is this subterfuge on Dominic Mysterio's part?
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously to us, Liv's just manipulating him to get at Rhea.
Yeah.
After saying she's going to take everything, which is obviously what she's trying to do. Dom stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. I mean, obviously, Mummy is brilliant, but if you've got Liv coming onto you like that, how do you say no? Really?
Well, exactly.
As a human being.
I mean, he's lucked out, hasn't he, Dom?
Yeah.
I mean, he is living the life, and I've seen so many people sharing, pictures of Monday Night Raw saying, if I was Dominic, I would fold, faster than the origami world champion, etc. Yeah, I mean, big up to Dom, man. I think when we saw Dom when he was with his father as a short-haired babyface.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was gonna make it. Or
I had no hope for him whatsoever.
Yeah, he's just come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, ever since that Clash at the Castle, low blow to Edge.
Yeah,
Just
brilliant.
On the way up. And And I think what we've seen, especially from the last week's Raw, is that the Judgment Day are not going to be a thing for too longer. So I wonder what Dominic Mysterio does when that group inevitably falls apart.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way he goes.
Yeah.
Whether he stays here or tries to redeem himself, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was great. It's really good progression for the Liv Dom storyline. It's good to get Zelina involved. And the nice added element of Mysterio's having another family feud. And I think Dom versus Ray is official for this coming Monday as well, so that'll be interesting.
Another one.
Nice little WrestleMania rematch.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Okay, Money in the Bank qualifying matches again. We had Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable, the revived Chad Gable, who was not dead, versus Bronson Reed. So, obviously the big talking point, or at least on social media, anyway, was that Chad Gable was killed last Monday on Raw. I feel like I'm the only person who didn't see that as a bullet hole, just a blow to the head.
I mean,
is it just?
I think it was just the positioning. It did kind of look like you've been shot in this.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I just think from a continuity point of view, it's like, okay. So anyway, Chad Gable obviously survived. Fine. Came out, said miracles do happen, and he came out with nothing but a little a tiny bandage over where he was either shot / bludgeoned by I think it was Huskus the pig, the one who attacked him, just going off the theory there. But he won this match. This was I think Braun Strowman was heavily distracted.
Yeah. Judgment Day took him out of the match.
Yeah, and then Chad Gable won with a moonsault, a Kurt Angle style moonsault, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it was a really good moonsault. I mean, how else are you going to have Gable beat Bronson?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I as much as I love seeing him hit Chaos Theory on who are north of 300 pounds, it was nice seeing him win with something else, and he's got quite the arsenal, hasn't he? He is.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, he's very much in the Kurt Angle mold, and I hope we get to see more of that kind of Perk Angle aggressive style very, very soon. Before I get to the implications of this win, obviously, this is when the lights started to go out, and everyone's kind of. I saw a crowd reaction to the lights going out.
Yeah,
in like a recording in the crowd, everyone goes crazy. Like, people are so excited for Wyatt Sick6 stuff. So the lights go out, and then we hear the singular piano of the song "Shatter," which was Bray's theme when he came back in 2022. And the smoke started to fill the ring, and I don't mind. I don't mind the smoke machine. I don't see that as supernatural. I see it as more of a production thing. Yeah. I think it adds to it, especially when Nikki Cross enters the ring with smoke, and all you can see is the upper half of her body because of the smoke.
Yeah,
looks terrifying. And she's very good at that motion of crawling, where it's like she's crawling in like 4 frames per second, and it's kind of like it is like The Ring, isn't it? When Sarah crawls out of the television.
Yeah.
So she crawled towards Chad Gable, who, like any sane human being, terrified, and Gable escaped the ring. And I didn't know what to expect here, because I was thinking, well, is he get jumped by Mercy the Buzzard somewhere, or is Uncle Howdy going to attack him? But Gable just kind of vanishes. Nikki makes her way to commentary ringside, and then she pulls out a box. And she walks towards Michael Cole, who is, I believe, on his own on commentary at this point. And she gives him a box, and then she leaves through the crowd. Now, I think if this is all we'd got on Monday from the Wyatt Six, I think this would have been a bit disappointing.
Yeah, Just leaving a box is a bit. All right, we get cliffhangers, but come on.
And also, I don't know if you noticed, but when Nikki approached the commentary table, those 2 security guards that were present all night were draped over the table.
Yeah.
And
Didn't it?
there's some fan footage of somebody who just records them and they just put themselves over the table.
Amazing.
It looks so shit. Honestly, it just looks terrible. I wasn't a fan of that because they said no natural stuff. And what are we supposed to do? He just died because of presence. If they were attacked by the other members, fair enough. But I think just seeing them draped over the table, all of a sudden dead, was probably a bit. So we went to a commercial break, and Michael Cole opened the box, and he had a VHS, and he had to explain what a VHS was to younger viewers. It made me feel very old.
Yeah.
I went and checked my blood pressure after that. And it said "Play Me" on it, which I'm hoping is a play on the Saw films. That was ever Jigsaw would leave a tape with "Play Me" written on it. Yeah. That was but there's more on the Wyatt Sick6 happening later, which I think was the much better segment on the show. What do we have next? We had Katana Chance and Kaden Carter versus the new women's tag team champions, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. This was okay. I think both teams and all 4 ladies here are great. I just don't care about the women's tag titles.
Yeah. Sort of a secondary thing at the moment, though I'm glad the women's tag title curse seems to be lifted for now.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting injured holding them.
No, exactly. Fortunately, the crowd didn't care either. It was a great moment for Fire and Dawn, should we call them, winning in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Jenny was not expecting that. Kind of gave away that Drew was losing as well at the same time. So yeah, Fire and Dawn retained after a fairly short match, but they were attacked after the match by Damage Control. So maybe we're seeing a Damage Control going back for the women's tag titles.
It makes sense.
I think they haven't really got established tag teams vision, which has been the problem from the outset. So I think going on Damage Control probably the best possible idea. And we haven't seen that matchup before either. Because the revolving door of matches we had previously in the women's tag division. Now we've got fresh new champions to feud with Damage Control. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and you've got Baszler and Starks as well, somewhere in the mix.
Yeah, and I love Katana and Chance. They're probably the only women's tag team there is in terms of their chemistry. But yeah, I think that'll be fine. Damage Control, very good wrestlers, obviously. Which pairing they go with out of the 3 will yet to be seen. Whether they go with Kairi and Io or Io and Dakota. I think Dakota Kai has a Money in the Bank qualifying match coming Monday. So if she were to win that, then you assume Io and Kairi would probably go into the tag team slot. But we'll see. What do we have next? Oh, this was great. This was Damian Priest. So, previous week, Damian Priest offered Seth Rollins a championship match because he wants to, he wants to be a real champion, doesn't he? That's his story. He wants to prove that he's worth being a champion. Doesn't want Judgment Day help, and he said to Seth, you don't have to go through Money in the Bank match. I'll just give you a title match because I'll beat you and show you I'm the best. So he's out there doing a promo, and he was quickly interrupted by Seth Rollins. And this is what had me curious about the whole Judgment Day thing. So Rollins basically offered Priest an ultimatum. If you retain, Rollins will never get a shot at the world title again. I think it's as long as Priest is champion. I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, if Priest retains, he isn't being Gunther, so that doesn't really sound that bad on a Rollins side. But if Rollins wins, Priest has to leave the Judgment Day. Which Priest agreed and said that the Judgment Day need me a hell of a lot more than I need them.
Yeah, very flippant.
Yeah, and to say that on live TV with a microphone in the ring, you know that all Judgment Day heard that.
Oh, yeah.
And then Gunther returned, who's been off TV for a few weeks. Rumored to be part of the Wyatt Sick6 massacre, which was bunked, thankfully. And then he came out and he basically just said, "Hey, the best man win. Out of the three of us, I'm the best man." Short and sweet from Gunther. And I think no matter who wins this match, I think we are crowning Gunther world champion at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, I think, and because the next pay-per-view after SummerSlam is Bash in Berlin. And I know Gunther is not German, but closer than Cleveland or wherever SummerSlam is. Just a bit closer.
A little bit.
So we come back from commercial break and Michael Cole has found a VHS player by some miracle in 2024. So we get the Wyatt Sick6. We're going to talk about more about this in our Wyatt Sick6 segment. This was the best thing on the show for me. This was, I think, the reason I like this so much is because I was not expecting it.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah. So we had Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas, and it's the first time we've kayfabe seen Bo Dallas. If we take out that picture they took in the burger shop. So Uncle Howdy is interviewing Bo Dallas, and we know that Bo Dallas is the Uncle Howdy character. And he was asking him things about how he felt about the loss of Bray. And he also asked him, "Do you think you're exploiting your brother's legacy?" Which I think is a retort to some social media commentary that's been going on.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought Bo probably cut the best promo of his career here. In terms of
he was.
The real emotion involved obviously helped. But this gave us a big answer to, the question that everyone was asking when they arrived, which was why. And I know why, because I was one of those nerds who watched all the QR codes and decrypted all of them with, I watched dedicated YouTubers who were going through this stuff. So, I know every single QR code inside out. But not everyone does, because I imagine most of the audience haven't looked at the QR codes. So this was a good starting point. Explain why they're here. And how did you feel when your brother died? Was actually part of one of the recent QR codes.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to kind of tie those together bit by bit. And you can also see this was actually in the Firefly Funhouse as well.
Can you?
Yeah, so at the end, when Bo Dallas says, "We made them remember," and Howdy says, "Yes, we did," sort of zooms out a little bit, and you can see in the darkness, Firefly Funhouse. Means the Firefly Funhouse.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought this was very well done. 2 out of 2 in terms of home runs gimmick so far for me. I know it's not for everyone. That's fine. But I thought for what it was very well done. And I'm hoping that we now get into the other characters.
Or at least something, showing who they are.
Yeah, because I think humanization is the most important thing here.
Yeah.
Because the article on Fightful said that going to less rooted in the natural and more rooted in reality. So I think we need to see and hear the real people behind the masks. Apart from Dexter Luke, obviously he can write things down and draw nice pictures. I would still keep him as a mute, definitely. But oh man, I really want to hear that Eric Rowan interview. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, Eric Rowan, and be interesting to see what's prompted Joe Gacy into it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So hopefully next week, I would just do this next few weeks, characters. That is what needs to happen.
Character reveals.
Yep. So we'll see, and we'll talk about Wyatt 6.
We will.
Kofi Kingston versus Karrion Kross. This is, Karrion Kross, don't know what this guy has to do to get over. I really don't.
Right.
I love Karrion Kross. His character work is great. His promos are amazing. He's all right in the ring. I just don't know what it is.
No, nothing's sticking really.
No, and even what's happening now, I think people are more interested in whether the New Day are going to split up than anything Karrion Kross is doing.
Yeah, that's the main pivotal point of this storyline.
Yeah. This was an okay match. It didn't really do much for the story, but during the match, it cut to Paul Ellering screaming and shouting. Never thought I'd hear in 2024, and the AOP were beating up Xavier Woods. So I don't know where this goes. Do we see the New Day breaking up? Obviously, Kross wins the match as a result of the distraction. You see the New Day breaking up? I mean, they have been together for a very long time.
Yeah, that seems to be what they're trying to plant the seeds for. You had the whole segment of Kofi sort of jumping in and accepting the match last week.
Yep.
With Xavier giving some slightly dodgy looks behind sort of Kofi's line.
Yeah, I think the New Day, they've done everything.
Yeah, I mean, and with poor Big E, not being able to return yet, or potentially ever. I mean, what do they do going forward, apart from going a new direction?
I think I'm more worried about Xavier Woods, Kofi. Kofi's had his singles moments. He's obviously had Kofi Mania in our champion. Whereas Xavier, although he's had good singles matches, he's never really had a consistent run in super successful like Kofi has, even Big E.
Yeah.
So I think Kofi would be fine. I think Xavier would as well. I think Xavier's a great wrestler. I don't think the New Day, I don't think they've got anything left to achieve as a tag team, personally.
No.
They're right. One of the best ever, probably top 3 of all time, in terms of success. So I'd be interested to see something different. So I think if Karrion Kross facilitates this, then I'm all for it. Just not that interesting what's happening on screen. That's all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an improvement on the Final Testament versus the Pride stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That went absolutely nowhere.
Wait, that actually happened?
Yeah.
I barely remember that. Oh, yeah, that was the Bubba Ray Dudley thing at WrestleMania, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Main event time. Is an R-Truth. So, also, by the way, shout out to Michael Cole. So by this point, Michael Cole had been calling the entire show by himself for about an hour and a half. And I didn't notice he was on his own. I just didn't.
Really good.
Incredible stuff. Yeah. Incredible stuff. So the Miz obviously left commentary because R-Truth's not the sharpest tool in the shed. And
so good.
Convinced by Liv Morgan, or who he thought was Carmella, to give the Judgment Day a tag team title match in Event of Raw. That is what happened.
That's why Miz runs off.
Yep. So Miz ran off to get prepared. Michael Cole is on his own. So, I mean, the match itself, fine. It's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm glad that the Miz and R-Truth are no longer tag team champions. I get why they gave it to them at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was a cool moment, but it's been almost 3 months. And I think the tag division in all of wrestling, big shot in the arm at the moment. And in a long time, across the board.
Yeah.
That's WWE, AEW, NXT, just not exist. So I feel like this was a good starting point to get the titles off Miz and R-Truth. Because as funny as their segments are, I don't think they had any prestige tag titles. The brand new tag titles.
Yeah, really good looking ones as well. Finally.
Yep. And the reason they lost this match was because of Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
And there were various things that happening throughout the night. Didn't touch on about Liv Morgan. So you saw Dom with this massive plate of chicken tenders that you love so much. Yeah,
The nuggies.
I mean, I can get on board with that. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he had about 100 there. And Liv Morgan bought them a PS5, and they were playing 2K. And Damian Priest is trying to conduct business, and guys are just like, "Nah, man, they don't really care." Also sowing some more seeds. And then you'll notice that Damian Priest went into the Judgment Day locker room later in the night, and out came Liv Morgan. And in the Judgment Day locker room was just Finn Balor. And I don't know if you noticed a few weeks ago, but you sometimes Raw will show clips of wrestlers arriving at the earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And they showed one of Liv Morgan getting out of a car and Finn Balor getting out the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some Finn Balor naughtiness going on that we're not yet obviously aware of. But this is you can just see the Judgment Day imploding very, very soon, possibly as soon as Money in the Bank.
Yeah, many threads being woven there.
Yeah, I mean, they might stretch out a bit longer because obviously Finn and JD have just won the titles.
I mean, I think it's going to culminate, obviously, with Rhea coming back.
Yeah, so SummerSlam.
Whatever happens to Judgment Day is going to culminate with her returning, I think.
Yeah. Also, congratulations to JD McDonough for winning his first gold on the main roster.
Yeah. His giant head.
His giant Funko Pop head. I'm actually looking. It's funny. Otis, I think, refers to him as a Funko Pop on social media. And I've actually got an Otis Funko Pop on my desk right here.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's the one of Otis holding Money in the Bank.
Huh.
Yeah, that times. So yeah, the Judgment Day win the tag team titles thanks to Liv Morgan, who came out. She distracted R-Truth with a hug. Then she dropped down, giving him a guillotine on the top rope, which Finn Balor took advantage.
Cinema. Her face while doing that.
Oh yeah.
The way it just turns. Really good.
Well,
Love that.
She's always wanted to go into Hollywood and horror films, hasn't she? So I think her acting's really good. And yeah, she's very believable in this role.
Yeah.
And
Back to what you were sort of falling flat promo wise. I think she is starting to come into her own.
Yeah, maybe it's the material. Maybe it's the material that she's been given. But this definitely works. And she said she was going to take everything from Rhea Ripley. Got the title, almost got Dom, implode the Judgment Day. And, Rhea could be coming back to nothing at all. So, top marks. Top marks to Liv Morgan and top marks to the Judgment Day. And they will
very, very good.
And that was Monday Night Raw. I thought it was another good show. I don't think it was quite as good as the week before, but that was a very high bar.
One thing I didn't mention that I'm personally very excited for.
Oh, yeah?
Is that very small segment with Gable and the Creeds.
Ah, yes. Yes, they've been...
After being rejected by Alpha Academy, turns around and Creeds asks if he needs help.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm curious how it happens, because obviously I think they're all going to be heels. We didn't talk about my Chad Gable. Yeah, did we? That's a good point. Let's go back to that then. So, Chad Gable. What if Chad Gable wins the briefcase?
Right.
And his obsession with the Intercontinental title, having lost it so many times, drives him to just cash it in on the IC title.
Well, he has been talking recently about going for the world, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And I know that the last time they did a cash in on a mid-card title, it's stupid, because why would you cash in on a mid-card title?
Was that Austin Theory in the US?
It was. And I think it was more just to get the briefcase off him.
Yeah.
Vince put the briefcase on him. Triple H obviously didn't want the briefcase on him. Just get rid of it. I still would have done it better. I still would have just had him cash in on Roman and lose.
Yeah.
But at least it made sense. But when you think how many times has Chad Gable challenged for the IC title and lost? 5, 6?
And that's only recently, isn't it?
That's in the last 12 months. And he's obviously felt that he's not been IC champion because of this Alpha Academy.
Mm.
And I just wonder if let's say CM Punk costs Drew McIntyre in the match, pulls him off the ladder. Chad Gable snatches the briefcase, cashes in on the IC title later in the night, finally get what he wants. I mean, I think it's a possibility. I think Chad Gable even if he does eventually go for the world title, I think Chad Gable is probably my favorite to win. But
Yeah.
I would be very interested as to how they do it, because if they are going to do it for a mid-card title, have to make it make sense. On the face of it, it doesn't make sense. They play into that obsession, because in 3 months' time, your champions are going to be Cody Rhodes and Gunther, and not getting cashed in on. Realistically, is not losing those titles for a very long time. So, and I don't see either of those losing their titles past next year's Money in the Bank.
Really? Well, long Cody reign then.
Yeah, I think long Cody reign, Gunther, he can do to the world title what he did with the Intercontinental title. So I think, if you're going to have these long reigning world champions, the Money in the Bank briefcase kind of just there. So they're going to have to do a lot of work to make it make sense if they do go down the mid card. I think it could happen, personally. But we'll see.
Yeah, personally, I think having a Money in the Bank holder go for anything other than the main title is going to take a lot of explaining.
Yep.
Like, you've got an opportunity at the top prize while you're going for sort of bronze, silver.
Yeah.
If you go for gold.
Yeah. And, every year I do wonder if the Money in the Bank briefcase is a dead concept now. Has it outstayed its welcome? Are they going to keep doing it forever and ever?
Well, that's another rabbit hole.
Yeah. Maybe another episode.
Named after match types. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So that was Monday Night Raw. Thought it was a good show.
Yeah, solid.
Yep. So next up we had A.I.W. Dynamite. Now, I didn't get to watch A.I.W. Dynamite this week because of work. I did catch up on the results as to what happened. So, you want to take this one, Kronus?
Yeah, I've got a brief rundown.
Yeah.
Just started off
26th of June.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Dates, maths. So we start with MJF coming out, who's interrupted by Danny Garcia, but it turns out he was going to call out Danny Garcia anyway.
Yeah.
They say nice things about each other, how they're pillars, been there from the start, etc. And I can't remember exactly. I think MJF offers him a match. Was it a Forbidden Door?
I think it was all in. I think, so MJF,
Wembley. That's right.
Yeah, he basically says, let's do a match at Wembley. Which I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, it's a bit of a random one, but it's got to fill a card.
Yeah.
However, they're both interrupted by the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay.
William Ospreay.
Who completely ignores MJF, speaks to Danny, gives him all his plaudits, and offers him a match for next Wednesday, a beach break, for the world title, which he hasn't won yet.
Oh, yeah. It's, that was interesting. There's, it's their themed episode next week.
Yeah, one of those weekly. Well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think this was. I love Danny Garcia.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
The dance annoyed me at first, but he is really, really good.
Yeah, it's sort of ironically good, isn't it? One of those, like Fandango back in the day. Obviously, Garcia's a much better wrestler. And I think, guys, you can see the improvement. Garcia, everyone with Garcia, every wrestler has improvement. I think Garcia's is promos. I think he's getting better at that.
Yeah, he's getting more real.
Yeah, very talented young wrestler. So I don't know how you feel about this, but I think the actual end goal of this is MJF versus Ospreay All In.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a swerve.
Yeah, because you notice when MJF came back, mentioned Will Ospreay as those who thinks they're the best in the world, but they're not.
Yeah.
And Will Ospreay kind of seems to just be not acknowledging his tribal chief in MJF. So yeah,
not,
I hope that Danny Garcia doesn't get left out to dry in all this, because I think Danny Garcia also mentioned, and you know how I feel about it, he also mentioned that he was working his way up the rankings. And have you seen who he's wrestled recently?
Must have been sort of jobby guys, hasn't it?
Yeah, so Nick Comoroto, he's wrestled. He beat him in less than 2 minutes. Rhett Titus, less than 2 minutes, and a couple of others. And we have a term here in Britain in football called stat padding, which is where a footballer plays against very weak opposition, scores 6 goals. Stat padding. And I feel like that's what they're doing to Daniel Garcia. I would much rather Daniel Garcia get victories over guys like, Roosh, Miro, Orange Cassidy, former champions, things like that. Rather than just go through squash matches against people no one's heard of or no one cares about, and they say, "Oh, I get a title shot, Will Ospreay now."
Yeah,
I don't think it does.
A win. But...
Yeah, I don't think it does Daniel Garcia any favors.
We've done it with other people as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, it'd be better matches if you're actually fighting other threats to that title that you're going for.
Yeah,
and it would give people like Miro, etc., TV time.
Unless it doesn't work for him, brother.
Unless it doesn't. that I don't know about. So I just want to see Miro on telly again.
I know. Where is Miro? Where is Miro doing? Miro, if you're listening, Miro, if you're listening, drop a comment. Tell us where you are, brother. We miss you.
Following that, where after offering the title match, Will Ospreay again ignores MJF.
Yeah.
Jumps out the ring. We go into the first match, which was BCC versus LIJ. Battle of the acronyms. Los Ingobernables de Japón.
Oh, okay.
Got that one take.
Nice. No editing required.
I didn't realise Titan had joined LIJ, but fair enough. I did think he was, what's his name? I'm going to lose that now. There was a masked member of LIJ, and the name completely slips me, so I thought it was him.
Remind me, are these from New Japan or CMLL, or is it a combination of both?
New Japan, well, now a combination of both. So obviously, Los Ingobernables was from one of the Mexican promotions, but then moved over to Japan as well, with the Japanese wing. So it was Titan, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi.
Yeah.
Versus Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. So it was a pretty decent match. I mean, you've got Naito, who's also part of LIJ, versus Moxley at Forbidden Door for the IWGP title.
Yeah.
Naito did make an appearance.
Good.
Promo that. It was a pretty fun match. Standard, chaotic, ended in DQ.
Oh, really?
So we had a moment between Naito and Moxley, and then ended with a stare down between Shingo and Bryan. We're also wrestling at Forbidden Door. Should be a wicked match, I think.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Shingo Takagi, but everyone seems to love that guy, so I am looking forward to that match.
Yeah,
I know
really good.
I know there's a debate whether you should trust everything, but I do trust everyone's feelers that Takagi is an incredible wrestler. We know that Bryan is an incredible wrestler, and he just doesn't have bad matches.
No.
And that's an Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal match, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'll go
easy to forget.
Yep, so I'll go for Bryan for the win. I think story be hopefully tournament.
I think it will be Bryan win, but yeah, it'll be a great match.
Yep.
And then go into another Owen Hart Cup first round. Jay White versus Phoenix.
Jay White in a singles match. Yeah, back.
We love it. pretty standard match. What you'd expect from Jay White and Phoenix, really good.
Yep.
Jay White picking up the win. Epic as usual, I've put in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, really like Jay White. Glad to see Phoenix back, but Jay White's going to be going through the tournament, possibly to the final. I'd like to see a Brian Jay White final.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All depends on who this wild card is.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I mean, I think I know. I've got my Hangman Adam Page, personally. But could be wrong. But until we know who that wild card is, I agree. I would like to see Jay White more in a singles capacity. And on the flip side, I'd like to see Phoenix more in a tag team capacity.
Yeah, him and Penta. That was Collision. We'll leave that off. But
yeah, for now.
watched that last night. And then we had Acclaimed come out to the ring to run down the Elite. Obviously, they're butting heads at the moment.
Yeah.
They challenged to a trios match at Forbidden Door. Now, I don't know. They've got Tanahashi on their side, was the reveal.
Right, okay. He's the president of New Japan, isn't he?
Yeah, at the moment. So I don't know if that means Daddy Ass isn't going to wrestle and it'll just be the Acclaimed and Tanahashi versus the Elite, or it's going to be 4-on-4.
Well, I think Jack Perry's in the ladder match, isn't he?
Yeah.
So the Bucks and Okada versus Acclaimed and Tanahashi.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's 2 titles not being defended on the show.
Yeah, and I think the Bucks... I don't know whether it's part of the Bucks gimmick that they don't defend their titles, but the Acclaimed won an elimination match last week. So you would think that they would get a title match at the peak. But maybe down the line, they might do it at Beach Break.
Potentially. But yeah, it's got to be the Elite being the mega heels, not defending their titles.
Yeah. And I just hope there's a good payoff to this.
Yeah, as you said about tag teams earlier, tag team wrestling in general.
And
down curve.
And we've seen where the Acclaimed were to where they were now, and that's cover in a later episode when we talk about A.I.W. specifically. But yeah, I think it'll be a fine match. I just hope there's more more to it, more meat to it.
Yeah. Titles as well, I think. Following that, we had the I guess build for Mina versus Tony.
Yeah.
In a 6-woman tag match with Tony, Mina, and Mariah taking on Anna Jay and the Outcasts, Saraya and Harley Cameron. It was quite a fun match.
Yeah.
All some really good workers, especially Tony, Mina, Mariah. But the real point was at the end when they were toasting champagne or whatever they were drinking.
As they do.
And Mina picks up the bottle to go and smash over the back of the head of Tony, who moves. So Mariah inadvertently ends up getting bottled by Mina. Yes.
I think this is probably my favourite storyline in AEW at the moment. I think Tony... I'm okay on her gimmick. I think I kind of went a bit off the over-the-topness of the gimmick, but I think her as a storyteller, fantastic. And Mariah May, who's come in relatively recently, she's amazing at what she does.
Really
good in the ring, really good wrestler. She's a very good character, and the obviously continuity with her and Mina from Stardom, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I can only see this leading to obviously Tony Storm, who got Mariah May into the Owen Hart Cup, only for Mariah May to win the Owen Hart Cup and beat Tony Storm at Wembley, I think would be the perfect payoff to this feud, to the point where if they don't do that, I'm going to be angry. Do you know what I mean?
So do you think then that we see Mina, or Mariah rather, screw over Mina and side with Tony at Forbidden Door?
I could probably see they do a thing a bit like Dominic Mysterio did with Morgan and Becky Lynch, where it looks like he's trying to help someone, but it inadvertently helps the other person. Don't really know what the true intentions are. I also think it depends whether Mina Shirakawa sticks around after Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
I hope she does. I think she's been a really good
really
part of the
great.
story. So yeah, I think a lot of it depends, but I think Mariah. I think Tony Storm wins, obviously. Mariah gets involved somehow, then we work towards Mariah winning the Owen Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It looks like what's going to happen. And then following this, we had probably your favourite part of the night. Hi guys.
Oh God,
That's the learning tree.
Oh,
They come out.
Hi guys,
The crowd is absolutely dead, like proper
the learning
dead.
tree.
Had a little bit of a promo from Large William, the Redwood.
Yeah.
Which again, no crowd reaction really, which sucks for him. But that's what's happening at the moment. Only picked up really when they challenged Hook, Shibata, and Joe. So I think it was an 8-man tag where Jericho revealed to the world that Suzuki didn't want to be his tag team partner, which I thought was brilliant. As a video package, and Suzuki's just like, no, I want to fight you for the FTW title. So I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I saw some of this on social media, and I was like, wait, which match is happening at Forbidden Door?
Yeah,
I think we got an answer last night on Collision, but we'll talk about that another time.
yeah. So that sort of was a bit head scratchy, but I think the main takeaway from that is that the learning tree is falling flat.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway from this is this gimmick sucks.
Yeah, it's not just Jericho. Obviously, it looks to me like he's picking up on everyone going, oh, this sucks, stop it, blah, blah, blah. And he's just doing it anyway.
Yeah, I just think that
he knows it's getting that reaction.
I get that, and obviously that sometimes is strategy. But I think if you are Tony Khan, you are currently negotiating a new deal. I think you put your best foot forward.
Definitely not Jericho.
Definitely not the learning tree, which has to be worst gimmick on TV. I don't watch TNA, so I don't know.
Said to you before, like the only thing I like about it is the theme song.
Yeah,
Take away the start. I am the learning tree, but the actual song itself slaps. Really like that.
Well, we're going to have some AI songs on the learning tree in future episodes. So,
oh yeah,
look forward to that. I feel sorry for Big Bill, Redwood. I don't know which name's worse. God, just call him William Morrissey. I feel sorry for him. Brian Keith, I don't really know. I mean, Brian Keith kind of came in as the bounty hunter. He was a good wrestler.
Yeah,
he was kind of just put in triple threat matches to lose, and then he joins the learning tree. So, not a great CV so far, resume for Brian Keith.
No, it kind of looks like Jericho's going, oh, a new guy. Let's ruin his career.
Yeah, I can't wait for Ricochet to be interrupted by the learning tree.
Ricochet interrupts the learning tree.
Oh, God. I mean, how big is this learning tree? How many branches Chris Jericho is going to have?
Going to rival Idrisil or Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil, yeah.
Norse Tree of Life.
It's going to be like a late days NWO, isn't it?
Yeah.
just 30 people. Hi, guys. Thanks, guys. All right. Okay, let's move on before I get angry.
Then we had decent technical match between Kyle O'Reilly and Zack Sabre Jr.
Oh yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised this wasn't the pay-per-view match, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much story of ZSJ and Orange Cassidy.
No,
I suppose it would be the same with Kyle. Really, no story, but a good match. I think that's probably what's going to happen at Forbidden Door. Just good match.
Yeah, I think obviously AEW gets some criticism for the stories it tells, but I think with Forbidden Door you've got to kind of let that go. It's not what it's about.
You don't always need a story.
No, and Forbidden Door especially. Forbidden Door is a showcase of what's colliding kind of thing. So, I got no problem with this happening. Whether it's Orange Cassidy, it'll be a great match, and But yeah, Kyle O'Reilly and Zack Sabre Jr., I think because they are similar types of wrestling, I thought that would be the...
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good match, really decent. Not much afters that I remember. But yeah, just obviously to promo that Cassidy and Sabre Jr. match for the door. Yeah, decent.
Been excited.
Finish on your classic Can They Coexist?
Oh,
Ospreay and Swerve. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say Vince is definitely back with the tagging with a person who deliberately assaulted your family the week before.
Can they coexist, pal? But yeah, versus Gates of Agony. I've written decent Can They Coexist match.
Yeah.
And they could for the most part. So they did actually work quite well together.
Did coexist.
Some little bits of miscommunication. But Ospreay picks up the win with the hidden blade. On, I think it was Toa Leona, the big dude.
Yep.
Which is good. And they have their little sort of stare downy bit at the end of the match. But Ospreay grabs the belt again off Swerve, turns his back on Swerve, and then Swerve is just brutal. Kicks him in the back of the knee, and then hits the house call. It just looks so smooth.
Nice. I do love
Really
house call.
But yeah, left
love the house call.
Because Ospreay's put his hands on the title before the match. You know, he's not winning it. That's not how it works, surely.
No, and I can only, I mean, first of all, the match is going to be amazing. I think the story's been really good. I'm really excited for it. I can only hope that Swerve retains.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, double titling Ospreay this early.
And yeah, basically it would just bury Swerve's title reign.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Swerve's still looking. He hasn't had a pay-per-view main event as champion yet.
No.
And he hasn't really faced, or due respect to Christian Cage and face Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
He hasn't really faced that elite talent as champion yet. That one that's perceived by fans like a Will Ospreay, perfect example, or MJF, etc.
Yeah, no, I agree. So this one should be, I mean, as you say, it's going to be a really good match. Both of them are super talented.
Yeah, and I like it because it's kind of predictable because Swerve wins, but there's that little thing is that what if he doesn't? And it's going to be like, it'll be on 5 a.m. by the time it finishes here. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Should be a pretty good pay-per-view all in all. Some random matches, but some of some substance as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping when they get the TV deal, they kind of vents the pay-per-view down for our sleep schedules benefits more than anything.
God, yeah, having to take a Monday off work.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Sorry, boss, I'm watching wrestling.
I'll be watching it after work.
Yeah,
Monday.
Absolutely. So that was Dynamite. Decent show, I thought, from looking at it, in terms of what happened. Obviously, I didn't watch it, but it sounded like it's last 2 weeks have kind of been upturned than the previous weeks.
Yeah, they were on a simmer, really, but they've turned up the heat a bit.
Yeah.
They're running.
Should we move on to SmackDown on Friday, the 28th of June?
Yes.
Very newsworthy. I thought it was an okay show. I think the endings carried it.
Oh, yeah. So good.
So we had an acknowledgement ceremony advertised. We had Money in the Bank qualifiers littered throughout the show, 3 of them. 2 for the women, 1 for the men. And we kicked off with the Bloodline. Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Solo Sikoa. I thought this was great because they sort of came out to the entrance. They were in Madison Square Garden, probably the most legendary anything, or especially for wrestling. And as they were kind of in the entranceway, the camera cuts to just this car, and out come Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton. Then the camera kind of follows them through Gorilla, which I love. They're doing that recently.
Yeah, I've noted that. Really well filmed.
Yeah.
And a chaotic opening. It goes back to what you said earlier about the production. It's just so much better.
Yeah, it's different as well. And they have a huge brawl just to kick out, to start the show. Kevin Owens does a ridiculous swanton bomb off
Yes.
one of the kind of concrete walls that fans up into the rafters. That was great.
You know what that reminded me of? I think it was Royal Rumble 2000 tables match. It was Jeff Hardy and maybe RVD. I don't think it was Matt. Jeff Hardy and someone versus Bubba and Spike. I think.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Might
Yeah.
be wrong. But yeah, Jeff does a swanton off one of the, should we say tunnels?
Yeah, that's it. One of the little kind of passageways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a callback, but that's where my mind went then.
Yeah, because he did it in one of the international shows last year, didn't he? No,
Ooh.
I think it was like Fastlane or something, not an international show. I think it was when they were fighting Judgment Day for the tag titles or something. He just flew off like had like all the hockey gear on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Great fun. And then Nick Aldis gets some security guards to come out, and those security guards, those future WWE
Right.
champions, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Future NXT breakout performance winner. They all get their ass kicked. And one of them sold Cody Rhodes Crossroads like an absolute champ.
Yeah.
Like
That's in my notes.
bounced off his head, and then he kind of just falls through between the middle and bottom rope.
Yeah.
And then Nick Aldis kind of brings police out. And I said this to you, and I said I wanted them to take out the police, and then Nick just keep bringing in like higher ranking officials, like bring the SWAT team out, and then you start like a GTA Star System, like just keep beating them up until we get like tanks and helicopters and things. That would have been great, but probably would have taken too much time. But yeah, pretty chaotic way to start the show. Crowd was super hot.
Yeah, and they end up getting escorted out of Raw entirely.
Yeah.
Jump in the car and bugger off.
Yeah, and everyone thought, oh, they're going to come back. But they didn't. Spoiler alert. Next up, we had Money in the Bank qualifier. Jade Cargill, Candice LeRae, and Tiffany Stratton. I'm glad Candice got an entrance.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It's been a while since we've seen Candice LeRae do much of anything, really. Which is a shame because she's great, super talented.
Yeah.
I think her time will come. Wish they would kind of go more prominently, but they can't use everyone.
Yeah, I think she might be better as beefing up the tag division with Indy, maybe.
Yeah, like they're in a tag team. I don't see why they can't just, throw themselves out there, getting tag team title shots. But I guess with the women's tag titles, they float between both brands, don't they? So I don't know. It's so confused.
Someone had to take the pin in this match as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it ain't going to be Jade.
No.
So as predicted, Tiffany Stratton qualifies. I think she's one of the favorites to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Along with Chelsea Green. I think they're the only two real options for me personally.
I'd go Tiffy personally.
I would go Tiffy because as much as I love Chelsea Green, I think Tiffany is more believed champion at the moment.
Yeah.
So we had some interference here. We have this recent collaboration between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And I got some fantasy booking for that storyline, which we'll go over probably next week. So we had a lot of interference here. We had Bianca Belair, we had Indy Hartwell. Ultimately, Indy Hartwell shoves Jade Cargill into the ring post. That allows Tiffany Stratton to hit the prettiest moonsault ever. It's
a great moonsault.
Yeah. For the win, and Tiffy in the bank is looking like a good possibility. And I think we are going to see Money in the Bank become Tiffany Stratton next Saturday. Only a week away.
Yeah, I think it suits her.
Yeah, and again, crowd is actually okay for this. SG, absolutely. I've always, if I was to go to New York, Madison Square Garden is probably the first place I'd go. Sightseeing thing.
Yeah, just wrestling history.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Next, we had more Money in the Bank qualifying action. This was an interesting one because it was Santos Escobar versus Logan Paul versus LA Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we've got Logan Paul and LA Knight feuding, which we think is going to culminate at SummerSlam for LA Knight to win the US title. Some people were saying, "Oh, does Santos Escobar win this match?" Because Logan and LA Knight are too focused on each other. And we actually got LA Knight with the win. So LA Knight qualifies for Money in the Bank.
Pinned Logan Paul as well.
Pinned Logan Paul, yep. So how I see it going is, I think the men's Money in the Bank match this year is going to be really overbooked.
Yeah,
and
it's the only way to do it.
I'm fine with that because it's a ladder match. I think Logan Paul costs LA Knight the briefcase at some point or gets involved. And LA Knight obviously can use the fact that he pinned Logan Paul to then just go, boom, SummerSlam.
Well, Logan's not doing anything else on Money in the Bank, is he?
No.
Defending that US title.
Nope. So I assume Logan will be in Canada. He will get involved. And I think we crown LA Knight at SummerSlam. I think is, the predictable route, but, predictable is sometimes best.
Yeah.
It was a good match. And we had some interaction from world of the NBA.
Yeah.
Now, we're not NBA followers, but
No.
what I will say, the crowd for this was electric. They were absolutely loving this.
From local teams or something.
Yeah, so it was Tyrese Halliburton, who's from the Indiana Pacers.
Right.
Now, I don't know if the Indiana Pacers are hated by New Yorkers. Apparently they are. So, and one thing that I saw on social media, so the American audience, they were watching on Fox. And because Fox is network television.
Yeah.
They're very, they have to be very careful about what they show on television, free TV. So there was, apparently during this match, or I think around this time, there was lots of the screen just going black for long periods of time for the American viewers. And obviously not for us because we watched on TNT. And what I heard was the crowd chanting rather unpleasant things about the Indiana Pacers and making middle finger gestures towards lots of different people. I think the people in Fox were just probably going into cardiac arrest with all the things happening on screen they weren't allowed to show. So I think that explains why the Fox stream, I mean, obviously it still sucked because you go to watch your wrestling, and I can't wait for the American viewers' sake when SmackDown goes to USA. Yeah. October, I think it is.
Yeah.
So that'll be much better. But yeah, it was a good match. Paul and Escobar formed an alliance as they do in a triple threat match. And then they turned on each other, as they do.
They could not coexist.
They could not coexist, no. Ow. It wasn't like your typical Logan Paul showcase of a match, but it did the job what it needed to do. LA Knight wins. And we get LA Knight in the Money in the Bank briefcase for the second year in a row. Remember last year, he was everyone's favorite to win, wasn't he? Until Damian Priest won.
Yeah. No, I was rooting for Knight in that one as well.
Yeah. But, there we are. So that is LA Knight. And I think, is that? Oh, yeah, there's one more Money in the Bank qualifying match on Raw next week for the men.
There was another one on SmackDown as well for the women.
Yeah, that's coming up very shortly, I think. Yep. We then got a video package for Sika and Hawaii. Obviously, Sika very sadly passed away in the days leading up to SmackDown. The father of Roman Reigns. The key members of the Anoa'i family, part of the Hall of Fame tag team, the Wild Samoans. I was never old enough to see or watch the Wild Samoans.
Yeah,
so,
before my time.
Yeah, a bit before our time. So we can't speak to having seen them perform. I think we're all aware of how significant this family is in wrestling.
Yeah, completely.
So yeah, just wishing all condolences and thoughts, to the NY family. I think considering what happened, the bloodline segments that did take place on the show, I thought were very well done considering the circumstance.
Oh yeah.
Very nice video package, as WWE always does their video packages. And then we moved on to Money in the Bank qualifier number 3, which was Blair Davenport, Indy Hartwell, Naomi. I was kind of hoping Blair Davenport would win this.
Yeah, I've noted that she is a bit of an unexpected call-up. I mean, she is decent.
Yeah, she is.
Fair enough, but I mean, there's not really been an answer to why she was called up, really.
No, and I think she was kind of on a tear in NXT, wasn't she? She never won the title or anything.
No.
I think she's a dependable hand. She's a good wrestler. She's a good talker. Dependable heel, maybe.
Yeah.
I noticed they were calling out quite a few. They called up Kiana James as well. And I think they needed to flesh out the women's division a lot. It's very imbalanced.
Yeah.
So I think the draft has kind of settled that down a little bit.
A bit, yeah. But yeah, I think it is still early days with her, so
yeah,
we do see a bit more.
Absolutely. So this was for a spot in the women's Money in the Bank. Naomi took control early, a couple of drop kicks. Davenport actually looked good in this match. She showed her usual aggression. And she took the upper hand, which led into a commercial break. Indy Hartwell, she's a good wrestler, Indy Hartwell. Again, I think, like her partner, Candice LeRae, probably not featured as much or as prominently as probably should be. But we'll see. The ending of this match was actually quite good. So it kind of came to it where you could really see all three being the winner of this match.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep. So Jade Cargill made her turn. I saw somebody on Twitter describe the camera work of this Jade Cargill appearing as when a wrestler uses their payback to bring a manager out in 2K.
Yeah.
And it when it just pans to the ramp and somebody's already walking down.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. It was brilliant.
No, I see that now, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks to this, Naomi won thanks to the distraction. Naomi wins. Naomi's going to Money in the Bank. A lot of people think Naomi might win. I don't think she will win.
No.
I also don't think she's the right person for the briefcase at the moment.
She'll be good in the match, definitely.
Yeah.
She's athletic AF. But yeah, I still think it's going to be Tiffany winning.
Yeah, I'm going Tiffany Stratton as well. We'll find out in several days' time.
Yes.
Main event.
Oh.
Bloodline Acknowledgement Ceremony. I didn't know what to expect. I thought this was just going to be, hello, Jacob Fatu, welcome to the Bloodline, and then Jimmy Uso come out and blah, blah, blah. That's what I thought was going to happen. And I think a lot of people thought that was going to happen. So throughout the night, we'd had various segments featuring Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. And Solo Sikoa had reiterated multiple times that Jacob Fatu was not there. Also, did you see how haggard Paul Heyman looked all through the night?
Yeah, I've noted that. I heard people talk about it as well.
Yeah.
Saying he hadn't slept and hadn't shaved. I mean, it really did sell his torment.
Great stuff.
Really.
Really is. The Solo, he basically promised Paul Heyman that Jacob Fatu was not there because he was too dangerous. So they all come out and they get in the ring and we start to see Paul Heyman do his ladies and gentlemen, obviously MSG, carrying along with him.
Yeah.
And then Solo asks for the mic like Roman Reigns does. And basically this is where Solo, I feel, is fully just taking the role of Tribal Chief, bare hands. Yeah. He did the Madison Square Garden, acknowledge me. he introduced the newest member of the bloodline, Jacob Fatu, whose entrance, by the way, is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Def Rebel, if in their contract it says only put effort in when it's bloodline themes. But that seems to be the case. Because whenever they have to write music for the bloodline, they don't mess around.
No, bangers.
Everything else is, well, questionable, shall we say.
Yes.
So Jacob Fatu comes out. He's lost a lot of weight, hasn't he? He looks great.
Yeah, really, really good. For a big guy that could move, he still looks a big guy.
Yeah.
But surely he's going to move even better now.
Did you see him in MLW? He's lost, what, 30, 40 pounds maybe? He's lost a lot.
Yeah, looks really good.
But he looks fantastic. He looks the part. He's going to be a star. So Jacob Fatu gets in the ring. And then Solo starts calling forth, one by one, these members of the bloodline. Starts with Tama Tonga. He says, Tama Tonga, acknowledge me. And I think they all say the same thing in some kind of Polynesian language to refer to Solo as. They all say something in Samoan or Tongan.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite cool. And he does the same with Tongaloa, who acknowledges Solo. And then we get to hear Jacob Fatu talk for the first time, WWE television. And he's always been a great talker. Very passionate about anything he says on the microphone.
Yeah.
And even here, he said very little, but it was very heartfelt what he said. In terms of, I love you, Solo. I acknowledge you. And then he turns to Paul Heyman. And man, this was, the kids are saying these days, cinema. Cinema, as Roman Reigns says. When he turned to Paul Heyman, I knew he was going to ask him to acknowledge him. What I didn't know is that he was going to have the necklace. I can't remember what they call it now.
No, I don't remember the name.
I had it in my head earlier, but I can't remember. So either way, it sounds cool. The tribal necklace that is Roman's father gave to him when he beat Jey Uso at Hell in a Cell match years ago to kind of anoint him as the tribal chief. And Paul Heyman here was just Oscar winning, fantastic. So Solo demands that Paul acknowledge him, tribal chief. And as soon as Paul sees the necklace, he's inconsolable. Because where did you get that? Where did you get that? And Paul knows that, it's real tribal chief.
Yeah.
And so Paul takes the microphone. Solo's got his arms out, and Paul says, Solo, I love you. I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief. And as soon as he says the word "not," the crowd just explodes.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And it was at this moment you realized that he'd messed up. Because as great as that moment was, and as amazing as the crowd reaction was, quickly realized what was about to happen. So, as expected, Solo, Samoan Spike, and Paul Heyman, which Corey Graves just says, "Oh my God." And they lay him out. Jacob Fatu diving headbutt. And then they take him outside and they perform a shield bomb on Paul Heyman through the announce table.
That bump.
I
wasn't expecting him to take any bumps, but that bump.
Wow. I know, because he took that all on the shoulders and the neck. And it was delivered by Jacob Fatu, ultimately. And the bloodline stood tall to close the show. Now, I saw a lot of people that were upset because whether they were led to believe or they thought that we would get Roman, The Rock, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, etc. I think the way this played out was better because I think this version of the bloodline needed to look strong.
Yeah, it has become. It needs to be a credible threat.
Yeah.
For when Roman returns.
Yeah. And I think Solo has received a lot of, for me, unwarranted criticism in his role as the tribal chief. And I think, when you think that you've got this bloodline without Roman Reigns, The Rock, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. Take all that away from the bloodline, and you throw in Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief, who spent the first year of his main roster run not talking at all. And now he's being thrust into this position as tribal chief while Roman, Rock, etc. are not on TV. And I think it's got to be difficult for him, as exciting as it is. But I think he's done fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge shoes to fill.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. But...
Is it as good? No, it's not. But is it bad? No. And don't forget the two people he brought in, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, they don't talk much either. So a lot of this is resting on, obviously Paul Heyman's carried the weight because he's best at what he does. I think Solo has stepped up. I don't think that WWE booking him to lose match after match after match after match has helped.
No, I agree.
And now Jacob Fatu comes in as Solo's enforcer. I think we're on the verge of seeing Jimmy Uso come back.
Yeah, he is basically Solo.
Yeah, basically he is, isn't he? But I do think the funniest thing out of all of this was after SmackDown went off the air, Jey Uso came out for a dark match, dancing around as if nothing happened.
Brilliant.
Obviously, they're not kayfabe, but it just looks funny that he was out dancing and smiling while the wise man just got destroyed on television. So we'll see. SmackDown is in Canada next week. Eve of Money in the Bank. Looking forward to the 6-man tag. Which 3 members of the bloodline we get in that match? I'm hoping we see Jacob Fatu in his first official match.
Yeah, please.
Yep. And that was SmackDown.
Do you reckon he'll be with the Tongans or Solo? The Tongans.
Yes, I don't know which 3 they'll use. I think they'll use Solo. I think he needs to be a physical threat. I think if they're smart, they will do Solo, Amatonga, and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah,
I think
so.
Tonga Loa is probably the member departments from what I've seen so far. He just doesn't look a threat, does he? Like, he just
not as much as everyone else.
No, like at least Tama Tonga's got a look about him. But yeah, that is SmackDown. Enjoyable ending. I think the build up to Money in the Bank of SummerSlam's looking really good.
Yeah, it was a really well bookended show.
Yeah,
the chaos of the opening, with the chaos of the ending.
Yeah, and then just do what you need to do. Money in the Bank qualifiers in the middle.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the weekly recap. We're going to have a quick talk about the Wyatt Sick6. I'll leave you an AI generated song. Go home with. So, Wyatt Sick6. Obviously, we had the very impressive presentation of the debut. This has been something that's been cooking since the end of the Bray Wyatt documentary.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever. We don't have access to the documentary in the UK still. Hello.
Come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Hi, guys. So at the end, there's a little throwback to Bray, a hint of Dallas, Howdy. Then we started getting QR codes, and me being the QR code nerd that I am, went back to my favorite YouTuber. He videos on it every week, and I think one thing that not ruined this for me, but sort of took a bit of the fun out, was the report that came out as to who these members were.
Right.
Because that happened quite early. It was reported very early on that it was going to be Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Rick Rowan. And I always think to myself, how great would it have been if I didn't know who they were until they debuted? Until they asked.
Yeah, I mean, the guessing aspect of it would be cool. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure. Well, obviously, I'd read and heard 1 or 2 reports. I didn't go too much into it. But I still think the reveals were quite cool.
Yeah, and obviously the references of the characters to the Bray universe. Joe Gacy being Huskus the Pig, Dexter being Mercy the Buzzard, Rowan being Rambling Rabbit, which surprised me, and
Big
Nikki,
rabbit.
yeah, it's a big rabbit, and Nikki being Abby the Witch.
Yeah,
So-
I like all of it.
So the QR codes, I'll try and give you a brief synopsis for those who didn't watch QR codes and how they told a story which is yet to be revealed. The theme of the story was it's called Plato's Allegory of the Cave. So obviously Plato, ancient Greek philosopher, very strange bloke, but he had some very captivating stories. Now the Allegory of the Cave is metaphor. So it's about prisoners who were in a cave. They were facing a wall, and they were facing the wall of the cave, and behind them, what the guards would do, the guards would project horrifying images on the wall, so the prisoners thought they were real. And it would be a form of kind of thing. And you Google Allegory of the Cave, you'll see how it's painted. So it's sort of using the metaphor that people are trapped, they need help, they're being misled. And there was a theme in the QR code of helping people who've been held down. That was the running theme. And the QR codes went on to conjure up clips of letters being delivered to certain locations. And it's basically Uncle Howdy reaching out to these people, saying that he understands the stripes they've been through, and he wants to help them. This carried on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And starting to, especially this past week on Raw, hear things like, how did you feel when your brother died, etc. These are all things that were in the QR codes that and so now I think what we're going to find the coming weeks, for those who did watch the QR codes, things are going to jump out of the screen that we remember, and they're going to tie back. I think the QR codes, while they were really vague and they were really hard to understand, I think that once these next few weeks have passed, back to the QR, they're going to make a lot more sense. Exactly what they were referring to. So that was the basic premise of the QR codes. We saw some creepy stuff. We saw some very distorted image characters. And we saw some home invasions. Quite creepy stuff. So we all knew that QR code clues kept pointing to June 17th. They would say a massacre is coming. I want to ask you, Kronus, what were you expecting when we knew they were going to debut Monday? What were you expecting to see?
My thoughts instantly went to, when the Nexus debuted.
Yeah.
And they just annihilated everyone and everything at ringside.
Yeah.
Something like that was my initial thought.
Yeah, same. I thought the same. I know that there's been a lot of detractors and critics of this type of stuff because of the nature of it. There's a lot of people kind of wanted to fail before it begins. And I was worried that I thought to myself, they need to do this incredibly, otherwise it's going to fall flat because of the expectation.
Yeah.
And I was thinking something like the Nexus. But what we got, I was not expecting. I'd never seen anything like that before.
No, me neither. Like the camera work, again, was phenomenal on it.
Yeah, all in one take, because that is one trip away from Shockmaster 2.0. Gone
Yeah.
forever. So, I mean, obviously the lights went out like The Fiend. You heard the Bray music, the door. The door opened and Nikki Cross came out. Wow. Actually happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, when it happened and it was all over and they came out and he said, "We're here." I thought, wow, that was great. That was great. And I watched all the relevant YouTube channels, all the feedback and stuff like a little kid. And I thought to myself, God, what next? How do they top that?
Yeah, where'd you go?
Yeah, because historically, like the Fiend debut, awesome. Where'd it go from there? Down the toilet.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, it was buried in Saudi Arabia by Goldberg.
Yeah.
He's still there, apparently. He's still there. And then we got Monday, and again, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, are they gonna kill Chad Gable again? Gonna kill someone else? Are they gonna attack someone? And then we got the interview. I think we touched on it earlier in the Raw recap, but I think the interview they did, genius idea, because it's repeatable with other characters. It can take up some TV time. They don't need to be on screen every week as in the arena.
No, especially not initially.
No.
And it was kind of like two sides of Bo's psyche.
Yeah.
One interviewing the other. So it was really well done.
And exactly. And I think that this is a repeatable thing they can do for the next few weeks with the other characters. My only thought is, do they have Uncle Howdy interviewing each character, or do they have the masked version of themselves in their human selves, like Bo and Howdy?
I was literally just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I think that probably an Uncle Howdy interviewing them.
I think so. Yeah, he seems to be. He's obviously the one who recruited them. He's the
leader.
He's the leader. He found them and saved them as he set them free. And like I said earlier, I can't wait for that Eric Rowan interview, given what's happened to Bray and Brody Lee.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really emotional. I'm very curious about Joe Gacy, he says. And I'm also very curious about what Dexter Lumis draws on a bit of paper. It's going to be great. How do you see this kind of shaping out in the ring? I think they're all competent wrestlers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're bad wrestlers. I would probably have Eric Rowan and Dexter Lumis as the tag team.
Yeah.
Because Rowan's been successful in a tag team. Dexter, probably a bit of an unknown quantity compared to the others.
Yeah, I think so.
And we know Joe Gacy can go. He's probably the best wrestler out of all of them, maybe.
Well, I haven't seen Bo wrestle for years.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Yeah, he hasn't wrestled, I think, since 2019. Last time he wrestled.
From what we know, yeah, I'd say Gacy's probably the best of them.
And Nikki Cross, we know that she could do the job in her chaotic nature.
Oh yeah, she's no stranger to weird, chaotic things.
Nikki Cross, to me, at the moment, she looks like she is like I don't want to say a messenger, but she seems, she seems to be the kind of, like, they're here sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say she's like a focal point, even though she's had the most TV time out of all of them so far. But yeah, she seems to. I think Nikki is going to play a more prominent role in the.
Yeah, she's supposed to be Sister Abigail.
Well, Abby the Witch.
Yeah.
Who I think might be inspired by Sister.
Yeah.
I think if you go deep into Bray Wyatt lore, the spirit of Sister Abigail was destroyed when Randy down the house.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's probably some Lord of the Rings level, or you've got to go into. I can find that out
deep.
But I thought it was. I think it's been great so far. I do hope it translates into the ring. I hope that they are doing these interviews without the masks on to prepare us for them when they wrestle without the masks on.
Yeah.
I want to see them wrestle with masks on. That rabbit is ridiculous.
It does look funky.
Imagine Eric Rowan running around with that mask on.
Yeah, I mean, any of them.
Yeah,
they've all,
Mercy the Buzzard
got like big dreadlocks attached to the mask.
Yeah.
So that might get in the way a bit.
Exactly. I think the only one who could get away with it is probably Uncle Howdy, but I don't want to see that either.
No.
I would rather see them as, alter egos, kind of like psychological instability style.
Yeah, absolutely. More than spoopy madness.
Yeah, we don't want to see
more psychological.
Yeah, we don't want to see damage. We humanize versions of characters going through genuine, real life trauma and taking it out on people who don't give a damn about their family, like Chad Gable.
Yep, I agree completely.
Who do we think, based on current storylines? Because the theory is, or the rumor is from the reports, is that the Wyatt Six aren't going to be involved in a specific storyline. They're going to be involved in several throughout the show, which I think makes sense. because
Yeah.
the QR codes were very indiscriminate as they were targeting.
You're not pigeonholing them either.
No. So I think, I genuinely think Dominic Mysterio is a target at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's been a right bastard last 12 months, years.
To his familia.
Yep. So I think Dominic Mysterio, I think Santos Escobar, perhaps. You got anyone in mind or any theories as to who they might target?
Other than those, not particularly. Really, the only other sort of family going on at the moment is the Bloodline.
Well, I think that would be... Oh, I'm so cautious about that. I think longer term.
You've got to do the Roman coming back versus Solo payoff. So I don't think they're going to get...
Oh, yeah, I think you wait until after Rock and Roman, personally. I think you get that out of the way, because we're hoping that Rock and Roman is going to be built from SummerSlam through War Games in WrestleMania. And then, once that's done, by then the Wyatt Six hopefully would have stayed consistent, got some credibility, and got some wins, and it's still working by then by all means do Wyatt Six against Bloodline later on down the line.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone else that really jumps out.
I don't think so either at the moment, but it depends on how how these vignettes go. Get any kind of more motives that surface from them.
Yeah, I hope so.
More than we got from the QR codes. I don't know what Nikki Cross does in a wrestling capacity. Who does she feud with?
Mm.
Maybe not for it. I don't want to see any of them near titles for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think that's really needed.
No. So we need to eliminate current champions out of all feuds currently. So
yeah, I think that's doable.
I think, yeah, I get the feeling we'll see Nikki Cross interview on Monday. I think that'll be the next one.
Yeah, she's been the next most prominent.
Yeah. But we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
good.
Our thoughts on the Wyatt Six so far. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out. Common phrase, let it play out. But that's all we can do at the moment. So, thanks very much for listening, guys. We are going to leave the song. If you do like the content, like and subscribe. I probably should have said that at the beginning. Terrible YouTube.
Cram it in at the end.
Cram it in at the end, assuming that people like Eric Bischoff are still listening. Our biggest fan.
You've got this far.
Oh, 2 hours. Gee.
Wow, it's flown by.
It has flown by. So we're going to play a little song for you written by our beloved A.I.W. And this song is essentially, this song is a list of wrestling catchphrases thrown together in song form. So with that, I'll leave you with this song called Promos.
You smell what the rock is cooking for rock. That's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so. Stone Cold Stevie. John Cena. I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Rest in peace. The Undertaker. Yes, yes, yes. If you're not done with that, we got 2 words for you. Suck it. What you gonna do, brother, when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Believe in the shield, feed me more. I'm not a bad guy, I'm not a good guy, I'm the guy. The champ is here, that's spoken brilliance. Delete, 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 delete. I'm just a